hot. Hello, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby, and today I'm gonna be doing the Finally Fall book tag. It's been so freaking long since the last time I've done a book tag on this channel, like probably over a year, if I had to guess. And this is actually a book tag that I did on my channel way back in 2018, way back in the day. And I always thought it would be fun to revisit this tag in the future just because I think this is such a fun tag to talk about fall, get in the fall mood. There's a bunch of like questions that are kind of themed around fall and it's just super fun. And because now it's actually fall, like we are in it. The season is upon us. Like we are now in fall. I thought there's no better time than to make this video again. I will have the previous one linked down below if you are curious to watch it, but you know, I don't know, I just thought I would make it extra cozy with, you know, my cute little pumpkin spice. I've got my candles lit and the decorations are out and like, let's fucking do it, you know? Like we're in fall. It's the best time of the year and I couldn't be happier about it. All right, so question number 1 says, in fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. So I really could do, you know, any number of books for this because atmospheric and setting is a really big thing for me in books. But I think a book that I've read somewhat recently within the last year that has a great setting is History of Wild Places, because this one kind of all takes place with these people who like live in the forest. This atmosphere in this book is just really great, you know, because there's so much, like it just feels so vivid. Like I could feel the forest and like I was in the forest with them when I was reading this book. The story is just so fascinating too because we're following this guy who goes in search of this children's author who's recently gone missing, and then shortly after he starts looking for her, he also goes missing, and then we follow this group of people who's living out in the forest, and he discovers this random truck that he sees, and he starts to put together the pieces of like what could be possibly going on out there. I love the way that the inside description kind of describes this book too, because it says it's hauntingly beautiful, hypnotic, and bewitching. A History of Wild Places is a story about fairy tales, our fear of the dark, and losing yourself within the wilderness of your mind. I love that, could not agree more. This is one of my favorite books that I read last year, and I actually want to revisit this book so bad because it's just so freaking good. The second question says, nature is beautiful but also dying. Name a book that is beautifully written but also deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. And once again, you know, I feel like I could do any number of books for this question because I, in particular, do really love books that deal with like heavy themed topics that are really dark and really sad. Like for example, one of my favorite books of all time is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, and I know that this book is controversial because a lot of people just call this trauma porn, you know, and they say it's like way too sad. I think this is one of my favorite books of all time and it is so hard to read. It's not necessarily something that I recommend just like going and reading, especially if you're not in a good mental place for this, but I can positively say that this is one of the books that had the biggest impacts on me as a person. This is one of the books that made me cry more than any other book out there, and it's some of the most beautiful writing that I've ever read in my life. This is one of those books where I've annotated it and there's literally highlights or annotations on almost every single page. And like, yes, this book is hard to read, and yes, the trauma is unimaginable that these characters go through in this book, especially Jude. But at the same time, like some of these writing passages have stuck with me so much through the years. Like I read this book about 4 years ago now and I still think about it almost every single day. But yeah, you know, it is hard to recommend this book because it's just so unimaginably sad and I don't want to like push that on anyone. And then same with like, you know, We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. This is one of my favorite books of all time. This one's actually a young adult book. And this one's hard to read, you know, because we're following this character named Henry who is severely depressed, you know, because his boyfriend has recently killed himself, and Henry gets abducted by aliens every night, and they tell him that the world is gonna end unless he presses this red button, which could prevent the end of the world, and he's debating whether he thinks the world should be saved or not. And this is very like dark, obviously. It's very like Donnie Darko vibes in a lot of ways. I just absolutely love this book, you know, it's one of my all-time favorites, but again, it does deal with like really heavy topics like depression and suicide and, you know, contemplating things about the world. Like it's just really deep, but like so freaking good and some of my favorite writing. Question number 3 says, fall is back to school season. Share a non-fiction book that taught you something new. I do love this question, you know, because I don't read a lot of non-fiction. Like non-fiction isn't a genre that I gravitate a lot towards, but when I do, you know, there's very specific things that I look for in non-fiction. Like I'm not a huge fan of like self-help books or anything like that, so I don't really go to non-fiction to like learn things necessarily, but I do love reading non-fiction books that are kind of just like about people's lives, you know, like this Somebody's Daughter, a memoir. This book was incredible. Crying in H Mart was incredible. I also think most recently I just read I'm So Glad My Mom Died, or I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. That was incredible. And then also, you know, Wild. I read that book earlier this year, January, and that probably had the biggest impact on me that any nonfiction book has ever had, because Wild just made me want to connect more with nature and connect more to myself and like learn more about myself. I literally bought this pair of hiking boots after I read Wild, and I wish I was kidding, but I'm not. Like, Wild just really sparked something in me that I didn't even know was there, and I think that's the most powerful thing that a nonfiction book can do for me, and Wild did that. So Wild is incredible. I think it's definitely worth all the hype it receives. Question number 4 says, in order to keep warm, it's good to spend some time with the people we love. Name a fictional family or household or friend group that you'd like to be a part of. You know, I'm pretty happy with the family that I'm a part of in the real world, so I decided to go with the friend group that I would like to be a part of, just because I thought that would be like super cozy and fun, because the friend group in the Written in the Stars, you know, series, trilogy, I don't know exactly what you would call this, but this friend group is everything. Almost everyone in their friend group is like queer in one way or another, and they are just like the cutest friends, because in Written in the Stars we follow Elle and Darcy, and then in Hang the Moon we follow Elle's brother, or Darcy's brother, I can't remember. And then in this book, we follow their friend who's like their roommate, and they're just like the cutest little friends group, and I just absolutely adore them. Like, I would want to be in this friend group so badly. This is like one of my favorite romance series that I've ever read, because I just connect to it in so many ways, and I love how this series explores, you know, astrology and like astronomy. Like, it's very space vibes. If you can't tell, they all take place in Seattle. I just love everything about this book series so much, and I feel like if there were any book friend groups that I would want to be a part of, it would be this one. Question number 5 says, the colorful leaves are piling up on the ground. Show us a pile of fall-colored spines. So I looked up a fall color palette just to have some kind of reference, and I saw this. So I guess I'm just going to be choosing spines based off of these colors for the most part. Okay, so first I thought, you know, we got to go with the Great Alone because we have this kind of beautiful orangey brownish spine. And then I do think the Gifted School, even though this cover looks a little summery, when you look at the spine color, I feel like this color goes really well with the fall vibe. And then we have Once There Were Wolves, which, you know, this cover just in general kind of screams fall to me, but I also do love this kind of brown color on the spine. A History of Wild Places is another really stunning cover, and also kind of a beautiful tan-ish spine. We do have some deep green with the Mexican Gothic. I feel like this spine especially, not only because of the green, but because of this like maroon color of her dress too, I feel like it just gives major fall. I thought I would throw in at least one kind of yellow, like almost like a mustard color with Anxious People. I don't know if that's exactly on point, but I feel like it works. And then the Hacienda, oh my gosh, this cover just in general really gives fall vibes to me, but then also look at that stunning spine. I also have the Silent Patient because, you know, I feel like anytime I think of fall, I think of these like almost like tan neutral nudes kind of colors. So I feel like that works. And then I also thought I would end it by putting Rebecca and the Martian on top because they have some kind of like orange, some kind of like darker reds, darker greens, and I feel like that works. So that is my fall stack. I'm not the best person when it comes to like figuring out good colors that work together, but I feel like I like this stack, you know? All right, question number 6 says, fall is the perfect time for some storytelling by the fireside. Share a book wherein somebody is telling a story. I do tend to like story within a story. It really just depends on the book. Sometimes I really love it and sometimes I really hate it, but in one of my favorite books of all time, aka The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, this is actually a story where they're telling a story, you know, because we get the story of Evelyn Hugo, like the iconic actress, the movie actress, but then we also get the story of Monique, who's going to be the woman that Evelyn chooses to tell her story. In a way, this is really Monique sharing Evelyn's story, if that makes sense, because it's like a story within a story. We do get Monique's story as well. Then another book that I thought of is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This one actually also is a story within a story because we follow this woman named Maggie who, you know, when she was a child, she grew up in this house that was claimed to be haunted, and her dad wrote this book about it called House of Horrors. And then now we follow her as she's an adult and her dad has recently passed away, and she's going to be going back to the house where she grew up to, you know, get things together. And then she starts to question if maybe the book that he had written could have been real, like could have been based on some truths. In between the chapters of Maggie as an adult, we get the chapters from the book that her dad wrote about the spooky house that they could have grown up in, and this shit is spooky and creepy and fun. So I feel like this has got to be one of my favorite kind of like story within a story type of reads. Alright, next up, question 7, we have The Nights Are Getting Darker. Share a dark and creepy read. I mean, come on now, this is basically my whole brand. I think one that I would for sure have to recommend, say it with me, Stolen Tongues, because this is probably the scariest book that I've ever read. This is like one of the only books in this world that made me sleep with the lights on. I was absolutely terrified reading this book late into the night. Like, I couldn't do it. It was so creepy. And this book also has one of my favorite atmospheres if you're looking for something like staying in a cabin in the middle of the woods and you feel like something's watching you vibes. This has the most perfect energy of that. Like, oh my god, this is so creepy. But I would also recommend, you know, one of my faves, The Troop by Nick Cutter. This isn't necessarily like a scary read necessarily, but it's something that's gonna gross you out and just make you question shit and be like, ew, what the fuck? Like, this is like the most body horror thing you could probably ever read. And so if body horror is what scares you, The Troop, hello. I also think if you're just looking for something kind of creepy and dark and atmospheric, I would also totally recommend Near the Bone by Christina Henry or A House at the Bottom of a Lake by Josh Mallerman, because both of these stories are really unsettling and really atmospheric. And, you know, Near the Bone is pretty action-packed as well. There's definitely some trigger warnings in this book for, you know, her dealing with an abusive husband, not just verbally, but also physically very abusive, and it's very hard to read. But there's also the atmosphere of like there's a monster on the mountain with them and they're trying to escape. Oh my god, it's just so so good, such great atmosphere. And then, you know, House at the Bottom of a Lake is just about these two teenagers who discover a house at the bottom of a lake, and it's creepy and it's weird and it doesn't make any fucking sense, but I love it. Question number 8 says, the days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up somebody's cold and rainy day. Hey, I know that we all know this already, but I can't not recommend Heartstopper because, come on, Heartstopper. I think Heartstopper is like the perfect read to like warm up your day and make you feel all of the feelings, because Heartstopper is beautiful. It's a young adult gay teen romance and it's just my favorite thing ever. There's also, you know, now there's the Netflix show that you could watch as well, which is also equally as good and just makes you feel all the warm and fuzzy feelings. And there's currently 4 of these graphic novels out right now, and I believe a 5th one is coming out at some point soon, so you can just like binge read the whole series, you know? I do think the first 2 books are the most like happy and cozy to me out of the 4, you know, because things do start to get a little bit more serious in the 3rd and 4th book to the point where you might cry a little bit, but I just think the series as a whole is so heartwarming, so freaking cute, and if you haven't read it yet, like seriously, don't miss out on Heartstopper. It's so cute. Number 9 says fall. Luckily, it's my favorite season. Same, returns every year. Name an old favorite that you'd like to return to soon. I love this question because I'm always thinking about which books I would like to reread, you know, because I am getting to be a pretty big rereader, you know? I wasn't in the past, but now I'm like, I want to revisit some of my favorite books, goddammit. And usually now I save the last 2 weeks of December to just like reread a lot of my favorite books, and so I think it's just really fun and it's a great way to like wrap up the year for me. One favorite that I've been considering that I want to return to is Night Film, because it's been like 7 years now since I first read this book, and I remember just like absolutely loving it. And I think this book is especially cool because there's like mixed media in this book, so there's like, you know, pages where there's like articles and like different things like that, and I just think it was such a cool reading experience. And I did annotate this book when I did read it back in 2015, and so I feel like it would be really cool for me to revisit this one and see if I love it as much as I did back then. And, you know, anytime that I have annotated a book, it only makes me want to reread it more because I want to see what my thought process was when I read this book like 7 years ago, you know? But also, oh my gosh, ever since that trailer just dropped for Knock at the Cabin, for the book The Cabin at the End of the World, now I'm like, I need to reread The Cabin at the End of the World again, even though I did just reread it again last December. But now watching that trailer again, I'm like, okay, I need to reread it close to when the adaptation comes out, so I might be rereading that one too at some point. I'm also just kind of itching to want to reread They Never Learn and Dark Matter and like even like Rock, Paper, Scissors. Like there's so many books that I'm just like, I want to reread that like now. So yeah, I don't know. I might do that. I might actually do, you know, for my December book troop pick, I might just do a reread. I think that would be super fun. Right, and the last question, number 10, says, fall is the perfect time for cozy reading nights. Share your favorite cozy reading accessories. So this is a fun question because I do have so many, you know, reading accessories that I love. I mean, one of my favorite things recently has been these freaking tabs. Oh my god, these are a game changer. And when you buy these on Amazon, or at least that's where I got them, it comes with 6 total. I don't know where I put the 6th one, but it comes with these. They're amazing. I only spent like, I think $9 or $10 on these, and I just love all the different color options. I love how like flimsy they are, and they're just like really easy to just use, and I don't know, I love these. I also have a ton of, you know, of the book corners that Rachel Hope makes. Throughout the years, I've just collected so many from like Summerween and just from different things that she's had. I freaking love these little cozy corners. I think they're so freaking cute, and especially the little Monster Mash one with the little ghosties and these little bats, and like, oh, there's just so many cute ones. And then of course, you know, I gotta promote the book sleeves, you know, like the iconic book sleeves from Rachel Hope. I'll have her shop link down below for Happy Go Lovely sleeves, but her sleeves are just like the best, you know, they're my favorite. Like the first one she ever sent me was this really cute like skeleton one that definitely glows in the dark, and it's like the coolest thing ever. I still use this one quite often. Book sleeves are just so great, especially for like traveling. Like whenever I just want to throw my book in my backpack, I like throwing them in the book sleeves because then I feel like they're extra protected against like getting water or like food on them or something. Oh my god, I'm obsessed with this one that we have coming up for Monster Mash. Like seriously, no jokes. This is so cute. Like this is definitely my favorite of all of the book sleeves so far. Like I'm just obsessed. Like the little ghosties. Are you kidding me? It's so cute. And then I love that the inside is like this cream color. I love that she adds this like extra stitching so that there's like room for a pen right there. Oh my god. This is just like my favorite fall accessory thing that I've ever owned ever, I think. I also have a couple of bookmarks that are cool for the fall. Like I have this Stephen King It one, and to be honest, I'm not entirely sure where I got this one. I think I must have got it from like Barnes & Noble or something, but I love it for the fall because I love the like red tassel. I just think it's so fun. And then also my girl Alicia, she's the one that makes the Monster Mash and like Summerween bookmarks for us, but she's sent me so many cute little like kind of like fall related, you know, bookmarks as well. Like she has this cute one that just says, I'm a sucker for horror, and it has like a little knife. Like how cute is that? And then also these like Taylor Swift ones that are kind of like, they feel like kind of fall vibes to me, especially the, like the fuck the patriarchy. Like yes, I am here for the fuck the patriarchy bookmark, you know, just so cute. I have also just recently bought this cute little ghosty pillow that I got at Home Goods, and it is the softest thing ever. Like usually when I get decorative pillows, I'm like afraid because they get kind of like scratchy and just like not the most cozy, but this one in particular is like one of the softest pillows that I've ever had, and it just makes me so happy. So now I have this on my bed every day when I'm reading. Just adds to the vibes. Anyways, that was the finally fall book tag. That was super fun. Maybe I'll have to do book tags more often. Like if there are any other tags circulating around booktube that you think you would like to see me do, or that you think it would be fun for me to do, then please let me know, because I feel like I'm so out of touch with like what popular book tags are these days. Like are book tags even still around? Like I don't even know. I feel like my channel used to be primarily like wrap-ups, TBRs, and book tags. Like I feel like those used to be like my main videos, and then I feel like ever since I've gotten more into like reading vlogs, I haven't really done book tags in like a long time. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm so glad that it's finally fall. I hope you are too. And yeah, let me know any of your answers to any of these questions in this video. Let me know what you're most looking forward to reading this fall. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye.